What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and this is gonna be a comprehensive analysis of this year's Spring Banner featuring Spring Severa, Myrrh, Minerva, and Inigo, and I'll also go over a lot of builds for them. If you do end up enjoying these kinds of banner reviews, I would really appreciate if you could pretend to be Myrrh and reduce the damage from YouTube by leaving a like and subscribing. So with that said, hope you all enjoy and let us begin. Spring Myrrh is a colorless flying dragon and the second one after legendary Grima, who came out years ago, and she completely blows Grima out of the water when it comes to enemy phase at the very least. So Spring Myrrh is a very solid enemy phase unit because she does have really great attack stat and pretty nice balance bulk. Her weapon is also extremely stacked for the enemy phase tanking, as it gives her -1 special cooldown, which means that she can retaliate back with 2-turn specials like Noontime and Glimmer, which is really good. In the enemy phase, she's always going to be having her weapon active, but in the player phase, the foe needs to be at 100% HP to get this condition, so she can basically get +5 to all of her stats and also flat 40% damage reduction, which is absolutely insane. And it's always going to be active in the enemy phase, which is a huge thing, and that does help her with the dragon weakness because the damage reduction can definitely help you combat that. She does have dual weaknesses to dragon effective and flying effective weapons, but her harmonized skill kind of tries to fix this by having the IO shield effect and also the follow-up negation, which can definitely make her pretty bulky. So overall, Spring Myrrh is a solid enemy phase unit who already comes with a really good base kit and is just made for enemy phase tanking. The flat damage reduction definitely helps you quite a bit. For her builds, it's pretty straightforward. You can just go with Myrrh's Stance 2 as the Sacred Seal, or you could even try running Bonfire and pair it up with Mystic Boost for some healing. You can also make use of something like Aether or Heavy Blade if you want to use a higher cooldown special. And if you want to use Glimmer, then you can also utilize that, as she'll be able to retaliate back with it. And a lot of times against many frail units, she's just going to be able to one-shot them and prevent any kind of double that she would have to take. So Glimmer can be used with Mystic Boost. Mystic Boost does give you the self-sufficiency. I know running more damage reduction on her with Dragon Ball might be really tempting for many people, but I just really wouldn't recommend it because damage reduction is stacked multiplicatively, not additively, so you're not going to be able to get 80% damage reduction like you're thinking. And Dragon's Ire is just much better because it can help you even retaliate back against units with impact skills, and that is going to be a huge thing. Now of course with Dragon Ball you could run Quick Riposte, but Dragon's Ire is just a better Quick Riposte for dragons and she already comes with that. So I really wouldn't recommend Dragon Ball myself, and Dragon's Ire already does the job, and there are just so many much better Sacred Seals that you could run which can benefit Myrrh in many matchups. And if you end up using her in Aether Raid's offense, then Light Season is definitely going to be her home, because in the Astro Season we do have Thrusier, who can be a bit annoying. In the Light Season it's a bit more comfy for her, and she can basically run IO Shield Sacred Seal because any kind of good team in Vault of Heaven is going to be having Duo Hindrance structure activated, especially because now we have got Duo Lin, which is a free unit for everyone to have, so everyone is going to be utilizing her to make sure they've got Duo Hindrance. So that's why you're not going to be able to use her harmonized skill in Aether Raid's offense at the very least against many of the good teams in Vault of Heaven, and that's why I recommend running IO Shield just as a permanent thing honestly, because archers are going to be quite common. And even if there is some kind of dragon effectiveness, she can take the dragon effective damage much better than a lot of the other dragons because of the damage reduction going on in her weapon. And if you invest a bit more into her, then you could definitely go with the plus attack IV and run like Summoner support and run Pulse Smoke. Pulse Smoke can help you in situations against infantry pulse teams, which are kind of rare nowadays, but also against like pre-charged specials and even something like Gale Force Elliewood, so it could be something that you could utilize if you want to invest a bit more into her. Spring Severa is a Red Mage Cavalry unit, and those are pretty rare. She mainly faces competition from someone like Dual Lif or Legendary Lilina, but she's pretty unique enough to stand out because of her weapon, Gulen Kambi Egg. So this is gonna be giving her -1 special cooldown, and at start of combat, if the foe's HP is above 75% HP, then she can get +6 attack and speed during the combat, and if she or any kind of ally has initiated combat in that same phase, then she can basically attack twice, so this becomes a brave weapon. And she does have amazing stat spread for a brave weapon. She's got high speed at base 40, which means that she can quad attack quite easily, and she also has pretty good attack stat for a brave weapon user, that to a mage that has got a 14 might conditional brave weapon. So the 37 base attack is pretty good with that. Now this weapon is definitely harder to activate than what it looks because you need to enter combat with a unit. It's not like Tsubasa where you just have to use an action of an ally and then it will activate her weapon. Instead, you have to enter the combat with an ally, and good thing is that this can actually work even if that ally dies in that combat, so it makes it a bit better in Aether 8's defense. So you basically have to utilize it in a way with your ally so that you can get the Brave effect quite consistently. So it is going to be a bit better weapon in the hands of the player than it is going to be in the hands of AI, but still there are ways of making it utilized there. She also has a speed super boon and a defense super boon. Speed super boon can be a pretty good thing, but a lot of times it is going to be the thing where you need a bit more attack with a Brave weapon, so I kind of prefer plus attack IV on her. Even though she does have a speed super boon and she can quad attack, I do prefer taking out units in just 2 hits with her Brave effect rather than, relying on quads or something like that with the speed super boon. So I just prefer that, and that's just my opinion. And if you want to make use of her for our dual cavalry, which is a pretty unique dual skill, then I have made a separate video going over the best candidates to use that skill on, so you could check it in the description. And for Severa's build, she's quite budget friendly to build up because our dual cavalry isn't really the worst skill ever, and you can easily just slap something like attack speed solo and you should be good. But if you want to invest a bit more into her, then Sparrow 2 can be a pretty good thing with desperation. She isn't really all that bulky, so that's why desperation can definitely help you, and it can be an option in a lot of in-game content basically. And she can also run Sparrow 3 from the Divine Code section, and she does have access to the Rouse skills from Ferdinand as well as Saleh, so those are always going to be an option for slot C. And attack speed push 4 is also an option, and you can easily run Glimmer because with something like plus attack IV and attack speed solo and everything, she hits a pretty good amount of attacks, so you can definitely get more out of it with the help of Glimmer, so that's an option. Moonbow also works, but Glimmer is also a pretty good option. Double solo skills can be run in both Slot A and Sacred Seal to make her extremely fast and hit very hard. While stuff like attack speed push 4 and solo skills are an option, I really prefer Sparrow 3 that you could easily get from the Divine Code section, as Severa is mainly a player phase unit, so that's why Sparrow 3 can be a pretty good slot A skill for her. But these are also the other options which you could run if you have them available, but I do prefer Sparrow 3 for her slot A. And finally, because she is a cavalry unit and a ranged cavalry unit, she automatically has utility in Aether 8's defense, and because she's a Brave weapon user, who is conditional of course, you can definitely make use of her and put her in the back line and make sure you have other units who can initiate combat against the enemy's team before her so that she can activate her weapon. As I said before, even if that unit dies who initiated combat, she will still get the Brave effect. So you can easily use Fire Sea weapon users or like Dazzling Staff units who can safely apply the pressure and initiate combat. And in Aether 8's defense, she doesn't really have a lot of bulk. For a budget build, you could basically go with double life and death and have something like Windsweep. Now the reason why I kinda like Windsweep is because even though it stops her quad attacks, you should not be relying on her quad attacks in Aether 8's defense anyways, because if you can kill something with 2 hits with her Moonbow that becomes a 1-turn special, then that's amazing. And against matchups where she's not going to be able to get the kill, Windsweep basically becomes a safety net, and even against matchups which are really bad like Brave Hector, she can at least not die and get danced and maybe snipe another unit on the opponent's team. So Windsweep is a pretty good option that you could run in slot B instead of a lull skill, and that could make it pretty annoying for the opponent to deal with her because she's gonna be quite fast actually, even at like no merges. So basically you wanna make sure that she's in the back line and she's not like on the front line and trying to initiate combat, because we want her to get the Brave weapon effect. So that could be done. And you could also use Fury on a budget if you don't really want to go with the Windsweep build, so that could be done on a budget as well. And ERD attack speed is available in the Divine Code section, so that is going to be giving you immense amount of offensive power. And again, Windsweep is an option, and you can even safely apply Panic Smoke if you do invest a lot into her. As I said before, I kind of prefer the plus attack IV over plus speed IV, and that applies in Aether 8's defense as well. Killing something in 2 hits is going to be preferable than just quad attacking, and she does have the attack stat to accomplish that, so that's why I prefer plus attack IV if you could have that. And finally, you could also just go with the quad build with having ARD attack speed and also attack speed solo, and she's going to be insanely fast, and she's going to be able to double so many things and just quad attack them. So using her in your Aether 8's defense is a bit more tricky than using someone like Reinhardt, who already comes with a Brave weapon right off the bat. For her, you need to meet the condition to make sure that the Brave effect is active. And then finally, for the most dedicated Severa fans, this is the ultimate premium build with attack speed catch 4 from Legendary Claude. Ideally, you want to have a unit who can go before her, initiate the combat, and maybe spread the debuff so that her cat skill is going to be at max potential, and she can effectively reach 90 attack with this build. I definitely think that plus attack is the best IV for her at plus 10 merge, so this is the ultimate Severa build for the most dedicated fans. Extremely expensive to do, so you're not really going to be seeing this that much, but still an option. Spring Minerva is a Lance Cavalier with 168 BST, and she's also the 4-star focus unit of this banner. On average, people do need 500 to 600 orbs to plus and merge a 4-star focus units like these, so it can be an option for a lot of Minerva fans. She does come with Springy Lance Plus, which is an inhittable weapon, and at start of combat, if the foe is above 75% HP, then you get plus 5 attack and speed during the combat, and you also neutralize any kind of penalties to your attack and speed. So the debuff neutralization to your attack and speed is a huge thing, especially when debuffs are so common, and this weapon basically tries to incentivize that you need to kill your opponent in a single round, because if the opponent is left in a weakened state at low HP, then you are not really going to be getting the extra attack and speed. As for stat spread, she does have pretty good offenses, and she can easily be compared to Petrine, who's the free-to-play Lance Cavalier. So Spring Minerva has 1 extra point of attack and speed over Petrine and has better defense in exchange for having much lower resistance. Overall, I feel like Petrine is going to be aging a bit better because of having Flame Lance and the fact that she can target resistance of her enemies, which is a big thing because a lot of units are going to be having higher defense than resistance. So she can have a better damage output, and she's going to be aging better than Spring Minerva definitely. But Spring Minerva is also not a bad unit. She's actually one of the better Lance Cavaliers we have in the game. But Petrine, like I said, doesn't really need any kind of orbs if you want to have a Lance Cavalier. But of course, if you're a big Spring Minerva fan, then this is going to be your chance to plus and merge her because she's a 4-star focus unit. And if you want to fodder her, then Attack Defense Solo 3 at 4-star is absolutely amazing, and Springy Lance Plus is also a pretty interesting option. We do have some other inheritable lances like Flowing Lance, Guild Fork, and Candy Cane Plus, which are going to be a bit better in many situations, but Springy Lance Plus also has its usage. And if you have a highly merged Hilda or a plus and merged Hilda, then Springy Lance can definitely protect you from like speed debuffs, which is going to be pretty annoying for you. And Candy Cane as it is a bit redundant with Special Fighter, so you can go with Springy Lance to get the attack and speed. And because you're incentivized to kill opponents in a single round, you could use something like Ruptured Sky and Special Fighter, which is going to be going off on the retaliation. We don't have too many Lance infantry units, but if this changes in the future, then this can definitely help them with their damage reduction builds. And on like pure offensive units, Springy Lance can definitely give you the extra offenses, which is always nice. Same goes for units like Ferdinand, who can use a more speedy build with Spring Lance Plus. And for units who are trying to use something like Wyvern Flight, for flyer units who don't have the highest speed stat, they can still try to use Springy Lance to get some extra speed, and that can definitely help them with their offenses, as stuff like Wyvern Flight already helps them in a defensive way by giving the attack debuffs, so that can definitely be an option on someone like Cormac or Heat. For Spring Minerva's build, she can easily work on a budget because she already has a solo skill. You just have to give her Desperation and Attack Speed Solo Sacred Seal and she's good to go. You can also run her with Hit and Run if you don't have Desperation, and that can be a pretty decent skill. And Moonbow can be an option that you could trigger in a single round of combat against melee opponents. And if you want to run a Gale Force build, then that's definitely a possibility, and Springy Lance does help you with the extra attack stat, so that can definitely help you run a budget Gale Force build. And now we move on to her high investment builds. So you can run Attack Defense Solo and add it up with Lull Attack Speed. So basically you want to try to use her as a melee duelist, which she can definitely excel in. So Lull Attack Speed can definitely help her quite a lot, and Rouse Speed Defense from Ferdinand is also a pretty good thing that you could run on her. I certainly prefer plus speed IV on her because having more speed just means that she's going to be able to battle the speed creep that is going on in Fae and even outspeed the fastest units in the game. And having extra speed is always good when we have so many damage reduction skills and so many fast units. So I definitely prefer the speed IV, which is actually a super boon for her. So you could definitely go with that on the max investment. Attack speed, push 4 and lull speed defense can be obtained from the Divine Code section. So that is going to be a pretty strong option for Minerva as well. And in my opinion, at max investment, I feel like Flowing Lance is a bit better for her than Springy Lance honestly, because Flowing Lance gives you the attack debuff, which is really good for a duelist like her who can function in both phases. So I would definitely try to go with Flowing Lance if you can do that, because she can definitely get pretty bulky and also really fast and also hit decently hard, so she can do a pretty good job in those aspects. Flowing Lance is definitely a pretty good option. Slaying Lance could be used with a 4-turn Gale Force and Heavy Blade, so if you want to use her as a Gale Force unit, that's an option. She can also be a pretty good Fire Sweep Lance user because of her high speed and her good offenses, so that's an option. And because of her higher defense and not that high resistance, Distant Fall becomes an option that you could run to retaliate back to dagger units or even the archers. You can run Heavy Blade 4 in the slot A to get some true damage and run it with Slaying Lance and have 4-turn Gale Force, which is really good. You can also run Ninja Yari to make her quad attack, and because of her higher defense, even after the penalty, she can still do a decent amount of damage with Bonfire. You could also run Gale Force if you want to, but you'll need multiple hits to activate that. Bonfire is going to be triggering if she's going to be quad attacking, so that can be pretty powerful with a quad attacking build. You can also go with Its Curtains Plus, which we have received in the limited ephemera pool before on Hot Springs Ryoma, so if you have saved up that combat manual, then Spring Minerva is definitely one of the best, if not the best, Its Curtains Lance Cavalry user, because she has even better attack and speed than Petrine, just by 1 point of course, but that does add up to the Heavy Blade triggers. So plus attack IV could be used in these kinds of situations where you have to trigger Heavy Blade. Overall, plus speed IV is going to be better, but if you're really trying to use her as a Gale Force unit, then plus attack IV can be an option, and she could be used in Aether 8's offense with this kind of one-tap Gale Force build, which is really preferable. You can also use her in Arena eventually whenever Blue Dual Cavalry comes out, so she can run Flowing Lance because that has lull attack defense, and if you combo it up with lull attack speed, then she can basically lull 3 stats, which is going to be pretty good. And she can get really fast to even not get doubled by some of the whale units, and that is really amazing. You can also use her in Aether 8's defense because she's a cavalry unit, and she's going to be no Eliwood, but still she can pack a punch with Springy Lance, Moonbow, and attack speed push for with lull speed defense. And attack defense solo can make her pretty bulky, which is going to be helpful in some matchups, especially against something like Winter Eltina. If you want to make her truly annoying for Aether 8's defense, and if you're a big Minerva fan, then try investing into Instant Lance Plus, because it has got the impact effect built into it. It's basically like a mini sturdy impact, and that is really annoying for many opponents. And if you go with ERD attack speed from Divine Codes, then she's going to be hitting really hard and she's going to be extremely fast with an impact effect, which can be a really good thing, and you can safely apply Panic Smoke debuffs. And finally, if you want to use her in Pawns of Loki and help your friends out, then she can have a pretty good amount of HP, and also she can be a really good Lance Cavalier in general because of her offenses. Spring Inigo is a flying green archer, and this is the second one we have got after New Year's Fiarm, and he absolutely outclasses her, but the thing is that he's a bow flyer. The green color is gonna be a problem many times because he cannot nuke as hard as the colorless bows, but in some matchups it is definitely gonna be helping him. The thing is that we recently got Legendary Claude, who's an insanely good colorless flyer archer, and we've also got Kinshi Inoka with her preferred weapon refine, who's also a really good unit, and Brave Claude is also a really fantastic bow flyer archer. So Inigo definitely faces competition from these kinds of bow flyers who have preferred weapons. That is not to say that Inigo is a bad unit, because he does have pretty good offenses. It's just that he's not going to be seen as much because of that insane competition that he has got going in this class. So he comes with Springy Bow Plus, which is the same weapon as Minerva. He does have green dual flying, and I have covered this in a video before, so if you want to check out the best users of green dual flying, then make sure to check that out. The link is going to be in the description right below that like button. So Spring Inigo does have pretty good offenses. He does have very high speed at 40, with also having a speed super boon. So offensively, he definitely has things going for him. And if you want to build him up for a budget, then range flyers don't have many options. Desperation is basically the budget skill that you could run on slot B, and maybe run a special like Moonbow or Luna. You can also run Lancebreaker actually, and that could be useful in Arena Assault against Brave Hectors, and also Legendary Dimitris, who are going to be really fast at plus 10. So Lancebreaker and his green color can definitely assist you in Arena Assault if you just got a copy of him. And if you want to invest a bit more into him, then Sparrow 2 could be run in slot A to give him some extra offenses. Brave Bow is an option because he is pretty fast, he does have a speed super boon, and he does have an attack stat which could definitely be utilized with this kind of build for quad attacking. You can also use Pelagian Bow and pair it up with something like Defense Smoke, and that could definitely help him with the damage output. With that, you definitely want to run something like Glimmer instead of Moonbow. Slaying Bow with Moonbow can help you trigger that in the Desperation range, and if you want to invest a bit more into him, then Attack Speed Push 4 and Speed Defense Rain are basically going to be the premium offensive skills that you could invest into him with someone like Jill, maybe, if you can fodder her off. And if you want to use him with Fire Sweep Bow, then that's also possible because of his offenses and his high speed, and Aerobatics and Slot B can just allow him some mobility options. And because he's a bow flyer, he definitely can be useful in something like Aether Raid's defense, definitely in the dark season rather than Anima, because Astra Mythics are a lot of them red, so that can be annoying for Inigo. Inigo has a better time in the dark season, and he does have good matchups against Air, Peony, and he can also do decently versus Mila and Freya. So he can be run with an impact skill which can give him a bit better bulk. It is nothing really too crazy, but with attack speed rain it does get a bit better at least. And Lancebreaker again can be an option. If you're running a green unit in your Aether Raid's defense and if they don't have null follow up, then you might as well run Lancebreaker to check Brave Hector, who's going to be really common. So that could be done for Aether Raid's defense. If you want to invest heavily into him, then Deadeye is going to be an option with a fully offensive build, and he's definitely going to be able to utilize that pretty well and cut through the damage reduction. And for all of the dedicated Inigo fans, this is the premium build which you could run on him with Spendthrift Bow, Attack Speed Catch 4, and this allows him to have really high speed, good damage output, and also be more bulky than what he usually is because of Spendthrift Bow and Attack Speed Rain's attack debuff. So this is for the dedicated Inigo fans. Spring Banner has come before a Hero Rises event, so most people are going to be trying to save for the Hero Rises banner, and this banner does last for a while, so I wouldn't really recommend you to pull on this right now, and definitely wait for the Hero Rises banner, maybe try to pull on that because it does have a guaranteed spark. And Mythic banner is also going to be happening this month. It's always good to wait a bit, especially when these banners can last a bit longer. This banner doesn't have a spark, so that's why it can take hundreds of orbs trying to get any of these units compared to a Hero Rises event, which does have a spark system. Make sure to share this video with your friends who are trying to invest into any of these units or have pulled them. I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support, and if you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because YouTube sub boxes are about as sad as Owain not being invited to the Spring Festival with Inigo and Severa. So that's it, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.